Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Wally Weasel. And here we are with some Anime versus Evil. And we are also going to talk about the last two episodes of the Fallout TV show. I'm basically just kind of freeballing it this time. I have no notes, just my thoughts and where I kind of think the series is going. These are kind of thoughts that are just kind of, keeping my head going, and fortunately I can't get to sleep as a result, so I'm just going to get these things out in the open. I think I'm going to be talking more about the third episode than the second one, mainly because I kind of feel like I have more to say on the third episode. The second episode was fine. Like, not saying is the reason I'm not talking about that is because there's nothing really to talk about. It's just I have more, talk about the third episode, and at the same time, I didn't want to. Felt like if I talked about the second episode when it came out, because of when I was able to actually watch it, I felt that it would have been a bit of a rush, like the first episode, which I watched, and then I recorded the video, and then I put it up. And yeah, that one was, I will admit, it was trend chasing. It was just getting up there to, be all like, hey, everybody, I'm talking with the thing. And all I really did was just kind of, recap the episode, which isn't what I wanted with the series. So, because I didn't really have too much to say lore-wise or theory-wise, given the second episode, I just kind of decided to wait it out for the third episode. And now that the third episode is here, let's just start with a quick review. And the third episode is what I'm going to call the fan service episode, because while stuff happens, not a lot of it is plot relevant, I don't think. We see the Legion, but what do they do? We see Victor, but what does he do? We see, I think, more so than anything, we just kind of get the whole confirmation that there will be a Brotherhood civil war, but at the point where the story is now, the question is, what will it do outside of just being a civil war in an area that really only matters in the sense of that's just where the first season happened. So yeah, not a lot happened in the third episode, but we'll still talk about it because it's some important stuff. It's important to my own theory. So let's just again give a review. It was a fine episode. Macaulay Culkin did a fine job as we'll just say Leggett Lanius. If you want to subscribe to the theory that Lanius is just multiple people, especially considering how he was described in New Vegas to how we ultimately met him in New Vegas, where he was seen as like a ruthless warlord, and then when you talk to him, you can say, bad Lanius, go lay down, and he does. So yeah, he did fine. I do kind of think that it's odd, this is like personal stuff here, how the media has been treating his quote-unquote return. Like, he's been on everything, I'll just scroll through YouTube and I'll just see all kinds of clips of him, like interviews, and I'm happy that his career is in a resurgence, but he never really left. He slowed down after his whole child acting thing, and then everyone was all like, "Oh, what's with you and Michael Jackson and all that?" But he was always still there. He just wasn't doing the big stuff. I think the biggest thing that he was doing was like, voice acting for Robot Chicken. And so, yeah, it's not like a resurgence of, to the same point of like, Brendan Fraser. But it is good to, see him coming back and getting over his demons and stuff. But, it was interesting to see the Legion split. It didn't make... Well, it made sense, but it didn't make too much sense because, I mean, it's not like Caesar or Kaisar is in this hole or whatever. He's quite literally just lying on a ditch. Like, anyone at any point could just go and get him. I know that they're like, well, anytime we tried, they would shoot at us. And, yeah, but again, like, he's on a ditch between the camps. So, yeah, just run up and grab him, or just dig through the ditch. It's sand, and just kind of pull him in, and there you go. Problem solved. We know who his successor is. At the same time, the reason I call it fan service more so than actual plot relevancy is, while yes, it's nice to see the Legion, I have to think about it in terms of how people who have never played New Vegas would look at it, and they would more than likely look at the Legion as this kooky small faction that is very devoted to Roman-esque appearances and such. And outside of that, there's not really much, because they repeatedly show the camps from the distance, and it does look small. It looks smaller than an average settlement. And yeah, so I don't know. It kind of sucks, but at the same time, it's kind of okay. Like, we didn't need the Legion to be like this big, huge, incredible, threatening force, but at the same time, it's the Legion. So, it's kind of half and half. I'm half disappointed, but, half relieved to see them. So, again, that's why I kind of call it fan service. Outside of that, I think we're done with Lucy's naivety in the world of the Wasteland. I think at this point, no one would falter if she grabbed a gun and shot back. Because at this point, it's clear what they're trying to say. It's clear that they're trying to be all like, not everyone goes all violent or is quote unquote corrupted when they enter the Wasteland. And at this point, it's like, it's not really about her being corrupted. It's more her being reactionary defensive. Something happens, she needs to defend herself. And as it is now, it's more something happens and she just tells them to stop. It's essentially like, somebody slapping you in the face and all you're telling them is, please stop that. And then they slap you again, and then you just say, please stop that. And then it just goes on and on and on. At some point, people watching this would just wonder why you don't just put up a hand, to defend yourself, to stop them from slapping you, or, ducking, moving away. It's kind of like where she is now. It's like, just defend yourself. It's not it's not corruption. It's reactionary defense. Like your father was taken from the vault. You didn't just say, well, let's just send out some messages and hope for the best. No, you went against the grain and, defended your I wouldn't really say legacy, because she is his legacy, but, just kind of did something. It was reactionary defensively. She wasn't out there to kill. She was, reacting defensively. When she found out that her husband was a raider, she didn't just go, okay, let's talk this through. No, she reacted defensively. So for her to suddenly stop doing that is a bit confusing. So I think we can move past that point and just have her start, defending herself. Because at this point, it's kind of like, why is the ghoul rescuing her outside of, oh, he has a golden heart? Like the only thing of use about her to him would be her Pip-Boy, and he could have just taken that from her corpse. So, yeah. I think it's time that we see that she, does stuff. But other than that, I don't really have too much more in the way of a review. So let's get back to theories. And the big theory, of course, still being what is the canonical ending. At least the big theory for me. There's like theories within the series, but I'll play that out. I want to talk about this theory because this is kind of like the theory that I hung my hat on, and in my Pimp My Fallout TV show. So, and we do get some confirmation type stuff, and possibly some pointers on where we're going in that regard. For instance, I still believe that we only have one of two potential endings. One of them being the Mr. House ending, and the other being the independent ending. And, because while things are chaotic in the Mojave, it does sort of make sense. Because I think for the first while or so, Mr. House would focus solely on New Vegas and possibly throwing Freeside a bone, mostly so that they can just act as a buffer in case, New Vegas proper gets attacked. So they would have to go through Freeside just to get there, which would give him time to counter. But, yeah. So it does make sense that the rest of the Mojave would be in a chaotic state with Securitrons that are just kind of walked out. Like the one we saw in the bottling facility, and then, Victor. Sorry. And independent ending, while I did say that the one thing of the independent ending that doesn't make sense in the terms of the TV show is that Victor is still up and around. Like, we saw him in the trailer, obviously, and now we see him in this episode, and he's, talking normally. I think they even got the original voice actor, which is very nice. But, it could still work in the form of the independent ending, because, while Victor and the female Securitrons, I should really look that up, were deactivated, essentially, and that was something that Yes Man did on his own. He didn't really tell the courier, hey, if you do this, then I'm going to have to reset all the Securitron, personalities, and that would basically get rid of Victor. It was just more so something that just happened, So yeah, come on, Yes Man, you gotta work with us here. You gotta be all yes or no. But yeah, like he could have returned Victor to enough of a standard state to send him out into the wasteland, kind of be an envoy of sorts. Like, hey, Securitron's not all evil, or what's going on with New Vegas isn't all bad. Here's an envoy, and he's happy. But, don't cross him. So, yeah, an independent ending could still be viable. Because, I still believe that Mr. House is still alive. Because, again, you don't have to kill him in order to perform the independent ending. You just have to disconnect him. So that theory still stands. So, oh, sorry, I'm recording this on New Year's Eve, obviously, because this video is going to go right up around New Year's Day, I imagine. And I'm just kind of hearing fireworks going off. It's like 7 p.m. I imagine that they're the kiddie fireworks for kids that'll be going to sleep earlier, or they're just private fireworks. Anyways, aside from all that, yeah. So still banking on independent or house ending. I would be surprised at this point if it was either the Legion or NCR. I'd be really surprised if it was like the NCR ending. But when they get to Vegas proper, I believe that's when we will find out. And yeah, that's kind of my theories. Again, I wanted to wait until this episode because I knew that the Legion would be seen, and I wanted to see just what kind of impact that they had, and it seems rather minuscule. This may not be the only Legion camp, or camps, plural, but it is kind of their big ones, and yeah, they just seem relatively small. It's kind of like the Brotherhood in Fallout 2, where it's like, yeah, they're still there, but they're just not as big as they were in the first game. So, I guess you can say they're referencing that. But, So, anyways, things that we can look forward to going forward that we have yet to see or hear about. I'm going to have to cross out the whole Thaddeus becomes the first super mutant that we see, because it seems like they're just going full on with him being a ghoul, which is fine. That's kind of what they said. And it was more of a theory that Thaddeus would become a super mutant in the second season, and he would have to be someone that they would need to take down. But it seems that they're happy having him as like a foreman at a bottling facility with kids. And I don't know. Was I the only one who was kind of really hoping that trigger would be pulled? Like, I get it, they're kids, but kids also represent forced innocence when it comes to TV shows and movies, where it's like, don't do that to the kids. They're kids. They're innocent. But I'm just like, no, they're annoying. Pull that trigger. Be the Brotherhood. They're abominations. Even the ones that are smooth. No. Yeah. So we still have no word even on super mutants. We do know that they are in the Mojave. They exist. So there's still a chance that we may see them, or are they setting them up for season 3? Because obviously they are setting up for a season 3 with the amount of storylines that are going on. Jesus. I'm not used to watching these sorts of dramas. So to me, this is a lot of storylines. Like, you've got at least, what's going on with Vault 33, the tensions of Vault 32, the escaped residents of Vault 31, and then the Brotherhood, or now, basically, the Brotherhood Civil War, and that's all going on in California. And then you've got the pre-war story with Cooper, the post-war story with him and Lucy, and yeah, like that's to me a lot. And obviously you got what's going on with Hank, although I think that's going to converge with the story of the Ghoul and Lucy. So again, like, to me that's a lot, and I think I read that there's only going to be 8 episodes. That's kind of a bit small for converging such storylines, or just kind of coming up with cohesive endings. So yeah, I do think that they are setting up for a season 3, and I think season 3 will be the action-packed episode or season, and I think season 3 is where we will see our first super mutants, because they're still super mutants. There are still glowing ones. We have yet to see anything of them. I know Bethesda loves them some Enclave, so they have to have some kind of reference, even though in California and Mojave they are kind of minuscule. I still believe that we will see some more of them, because their facility is still up and running. Like, nobody went and destroyed it when we saw Wilzog there. Although it hasn't been a few years. No, because he left with the dog meat fully grown. So yeah, that facility is still up and running, and it did seem like a fair-sized facility. So the Enclave still holds a presence, at least in California. So, you know, and as I just said, Bethesda loves them some Enclave. Bethesda also loves them some Commonwealth. So I'm a little bit worried on how powerful the Commonwealth will be when they arrive. But we shall see. Yeah, just basically a quick episode, just kind of putting in my thoughts. Hoping that the series doesn't continue to go all fan servicey, and that one day Lucy will, you know, react defensively and, you know, kind of still pushing my theory that it could be independent or House. If I had to choose, I would go with House. I would go with House with centralized focus on revitalizing New Vegas and throwing Freeside a bone. But yeah, that's just me. That's just my theories. Hopefully this video is a little better than the last one, because I didn't just want to recap. I wanted to give in my own little personal touch. And if it's good, then, you know, let me know and we'll continue. Again, I don't know if I would do this for every single episode. Obviously not the case, because I did kind of skip over episode 2, mainly because I didn't watch it until, like, you know, Christmas, and I figured I kind of want to rest, and then, you know, I got to work, and if I do a video, it would be like by the weekend, and that may be too late for such a thing. But yeah, aside from that, thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.
Wanna get fully wrecked at the Happy Turtle? Wanna get pot drunk at the Happy Turtle? Get inside, find a seat and order something strong. No matter who you are, like we even care. Turn on, drink until the sun comes up. Drink until your brain goes numb. Let yourself slip on the door and then give into the riptide. Pound it, down it, pound it, down it. Pound it, down it, pound it, down it. Slide out, turtles here to rampage. Keep the flipper on the bottle. Turtles here to run riot. Keeping it crazy, he'll never stop. So come on, so come on, so come on, so come out of your shell. We party and party and party and party all night. So come on, come on, come on, come out of your shell. Yeah. We party and party and party and party all night. Gonna get fully wrecked at the Happy Turtle.